Shabbat Shalom. So nice to be here with you. Let's begin with this nigun for Shabbat. The title is Yedid Nefesh, my soulmate. Let's continue with Hinei Matov Umanayim. The words can be found on page 128.
Hine matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. How good it is when brothers and sisters come together to dwell together in harmony. Even if you're by yourself, watching us wherever you are, streaming, know that there are other people watching with you. Your brothers and your sisters. Maybe you're in the same room as someone and you can reach out to them. If you're not in the same room with them, think of someone you'd like to reach out to after the service. And it's a delight to have you at Beth Am on this Shabbat. On page 120 is our candle lighting. If you're following along in our prayer book, If you're not following along in the prayer book and are just sitting back and meditating and thinking it with good music, that's totally appropriate. But our bat mitzvah for tomorrow, Ellie Wedner and her family will lead us in the kindling of the Shabbat lights.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kosher v'ahavu v'ratzon yinkiranu zikaron l'maaseh b'reishit ki'u yom tehillah le'mikra'e kodesh zecher tzion Mitzrayim ki'anu b'charta v'tanu kidashta mikol amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava u'ratzon chinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat.
Amen.
L'chaim.
Chaim.
A mazel tov to you, Ellie, and to your parents and your siblings and your grandparents who are joining you there. We look forward to having you as the newest teacher of Torah in our community tomorrow. The words of Lechadodi are on page 138. We'll sing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. And if you'd like, before the last verse, you can rise and welcome the figurative, maybe literal, Shabbat bride.
El
146 are the words of the Baruch Hu, our formal call to worship. One of the themes of the blessings before the Shema revolve this idea of love and God's love and our love for God. We're going to put up a slide and sing a new special song specifically for this section of our liturgy called We Are Loved.
Ours are
invite you to think back on the week, thinking of the song, We Are Loved. Try to find a time maybe where you were loved or you felt loved throughout the week. And take a deep breath, and we'll sing the words of the Shema.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem
If you're standing, I invite you to be seated, and we'll turn to our bar mitzvah for next week, Jonathan Bakash, to lead us in the words of Deuteronomy, that we can teach them to our children with the chanting of the V'ahavta on page 154.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושינתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך, בשוכבך ובקומך. וקשרתם מאוד על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, ולטפתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Adonai Elohechem, Amen.
Thank you, Jonathan. 2 weeks from tomorrow night, our festival of spring, our festival of freedom, Passover begins. Oh my gosh, we got so many bagels in our freezer. What are we going to do? Guess we'll have to dive into them this week. But we'll sing these words of freedom, the words of Micha Mocha, together on page 158.
כיפת אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל.
On page 160, we pray the words of Hashkivenu, our prayer for rest and security and shelter and peace. Let's join together. We'll start at the top and then we will jump down to the indented paragraph towards the bottom. We enter into the Amidah, our time for quiet prayer. We will join together in the opening meditation that sets our intention to pray words of praise. So if you'd like, you can rise and turn to page 164, and then you can daven on your own after that opening line, in English, in Hebrew, in some other language. You can dwell on one word, one sentence, or take time for your own thoughts. Page 164.
on page 178. Shalom Rama Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rama Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atu melech adon bechol hashalom. Ki atu melech adon bechol hashalom. Shalom Rama Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rama Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tov beinecha u'orei et amecha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rama Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rama Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim
Our thoughts now turn to those who are in need of healing, healing of body, healing of soul, those who struggle with mental illness and addiction, all those we hold in our hearts tonight. And we especially keep in mind David Baruch ben Simona, Mason Easley, Carol Emmerich, Marvin Gerstein, Esther Batgolda, and Marilyn Sachs. If there's someone else that you are thinking of sending your healing thoughts and prayers towards, please say their names aloud, and then we'll join together in the words of Misha Berach.
Avraham, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov. Mi sheberach imotenu, Sarah, Rivka, Leah,
In his book, The Psychoanalysis of Fire, the French philosopher Gaston Bachelard states, "Fire is the ultra-living element. It is intimate and it is universal. It lives in our hearts, it lives in the sky, it lives from the depths and offers itself with the warmth of love. Or it can go back down into the depths and hide there, latent and pent up like hate and vengeance. Among all phenomena, fire is really the only one to which there can be so definitely attributed the opposing values of good and evil." Central to the story of Exodus is fire. It burns everywhere, at the bush, on the mountain at its summit, and down at its base. God appears in fire, descends in fire, dwells in the Mishkan, the tabernacle, as fire. Fire is a sign of God's presence, and through offerings by fire, the Israelites maintain a connection to the divine. In the Bible, fire symbolizes the core of the relationship between God and humans, a dangerous passion that often leads to fireworks. Fire welds together the Torah portions from the past 2 weeks, the final portions of the book of Exodus. Last week we read of the golden calf. Aaron rashly throws gold into the fire and voila, the calf is born. The incident, characterized as apostasy, might be more accurately described as misguided love, an ecstatic passion, unrequited, that ignites God's fury and brings destruction onto the people. In this week's double portion, Vayakel Pikudei, gold and fire are combined once again, but this time firepower is harnessed for legitimate work, to build the Mishkan. Fire lies at the heart of the Mishkan project, necessary for many forms of the creative processes utilized in its building, a structure forged by fire to house Eish Elohim, God's fire. This unique construction project requires a special builder, an individual able to translate God's directions into a magnificent freestanding structure. As the Torah recounts, God singled out for this task of translation a supremely talented man named Betzalel. Betzalel is seemingly an engineer and an artist who, as the text says, "Vayimaleo to ruach Elohim, b'chokhmah, b'tvuna, v'da'at u'v'chol malacha." God has filled Betzalel with ruach Elohim, divine spirit, with chokhmah, wisdom, and with tuvuna, discernment, and da'at u'v'chol malacha, technical knowledge of every craft. The rabbis home in on the Torah's portrayal of Betzalel and of his work. These later readers describe him as a smith, one who works with iron and fire, a master artisan taught by God. In Hebrew, a smith or metal worker is a tsarof, a term derived from the verb litzaref, meaning to combine or join, purify or refine. Seizing on the unique attributes of this man, Midrash states that Betzalel knew how to meld not only metals, precious stones, and the other materials used to construct the tabernacle and its furnishings, but also how to combine the letters with which heaven and earth were created, the very words used to bring the world into being. As Aviva Zornberg notes, to be Betzalel is to be the artist who works in fire. He creates new worlds from elements never before fused. Human relationships are a lot like fire. They can be destructive, and they nurture through the warmth of love. Relationships burn and heal. Like fire, relationships need tending, care, fuel. In the Torah, fire represents the perils and promise of Kedusha, of sanctity. For me, human relationships are similarly charged. It is through encounter with other individuals that we may experience Kedusha. As Martin Buber wrote, When two people relate to each other authentically and humanly, God is the electricity that surges between them. This assertion of the divine potential within human encounter transforms relationships into a commanding presence, a source of authority for ethics and for the pursuit of justice. For me, the sanctity of human relationships serves as the grounding for my actions as a Jew. Buber also wrote that all real living is meeting. For us all, this has been a year of limited encounter, a year in which to draw near to others is like playing with fire. And without being able to draw close to one another, our lives have felt a bit unreal. When we do meet in person, our masks cover our faces. With difficulty, we try to read each other's expressions as we interact from 6 feet apart. And when we leave our homes, we are never readily able to meet others fully. Rather, when we leave our homes, we come face to face with our vulnerability. For the writers of this week's Torah portion, the Mishkan was a place of vulnerability and of reverence. The further you moved inside towards its core, the more dangerous the experience. And a way to understand the many chapters of the book of Exodus detailing the intricate descriptions of the tabernacle is as a backstory for the temple. The Torah presents a narrative exploration of how the temple came to be and of the origins of its design. The most sacred space in the Jerusalem temple was the Holy of Holies. That was where God dwelled. It was a small space, God's abode on earth, into which the high priest would enter just once a year. With hope and trepidation, for it was a scary place to enter, the high priest on Yom Kippur would delicately move aside the curtain that screened off the Holy of Holies and carefully go in to see if God was there. Literally, the Holy of Holies was empty. There was nothing in there. For many weeks now, my colleagues and I have entered individually the sanctuary at our temple, the most sacred physical space of our community. But if you experience Kedusha through human relationships, then to pray in that space without others, without you, is an encounter with emptiness. And when I'm in our sanctuary, I miss you. It's a funny thing to say, as we've never prayed there together, but I miss you. And each time that I enter our sanctuary, I dream a little bit about the first time when we will be there together. The first time that I'll be able to lead our congregation standing side by side with my clergy colleagues, these wonderful leaders with whom I've had the great honor of developing relationships during the past year. That will be a moment of rejuvenation and of uplift when we are able to join our voices together with yours. I smile just thinking about the joy and the energy of that moment of regathering. Happily, cautiously, we are drawing near to that moment of new beginnings. As cases of COVID-19 decline, and as more of us are being vaccinated, we have begun planning for when we can be on our campus together. Presently, we intend to initiate in-person gatherings in May, beginning with B'nai Mitzvah. Subsequently, we will come together for Kabbalat Shabbat services. All of our worship will occur outdoors, and we are devising plans to ensure equity of access as we have limited space in our outdoor chapel. In time, hopefully during the summer, we will initiate indoor Shabbat experiences, including Torah study. And although we are not intending to reopen our school for in-person learning before next fall, we do hope to plan some gatherings for our children before the end of the school year. With trepidation, but also with hope, we are entering into a complicated time of reformulation, of return, of rejoining with each other in person. We will be dealing with COVID-19 and the variants of the virus that cause it for years to come. So we need to reach some accommodations and adjust expectations to deal with this ongoing reality. And to do so safely and creatively, we will all need to be a bit like Betzalel. We need to combine together the chokhmah, the hard-earned wisdom we have gained from our efforts to safely maintain and strengthen our interpersonal relationships during a pandemic, the tevunah, the discernment to continually balance our individual needs with those of our Beth Am community, and the da'at, the technical knowledge to fuse our in-person gatherings with our new virtual experiences of learning and worship that we have innovated together during this past year. And as much as it may feel daunting to emerge from a year of sheltering in place, it is exciting to enter into a new stage of our never-ending process of synagogue transformation. At the outset of the instructions that God issues for the building of the tabernacle, God tells Moses, "Let them make me a sanctuary that I may dwell among them. Exactly as I show you, so shall you make it." When commenting on these instructions, the Hasidic master Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev taught that Moses and his generation conceived of the sanctuary by their own light, by their own prophetic vision. But each generation shall make God's sanctuary according to the visions of its own time and place. In this place and at this unique time, we have the opportunity to develop a new vision of Beth Am, to recombine the many elements of our congregation and to fuse them into a stronger and more vibrant community. In our weekly reading of the Torah, we have reached the end of the book of Exodus. And a narrative theme that begins in this book and that continues throughout the rest of the Torah is that there is no going back. We read of a people that continues to move forward together. We read of a community like ours, a community that takes risks together and journeys forward together in a continual pursuit of sanctuary and of sanctity. Shabbat Shalom.
Yasher Koach, Shabbat Shalom. We continue with Aleinu L'Shabeach on page 586 at the bottom of the page. If you'd like, please rise.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. One day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day. All my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to
prepare for the prayer of memory, page 594. It is a fearful thing to love what death can touch. A fearful thing to love, hope, dream, to be and oh, to lose. A thing for fools this, and a holy thing to love. For your life has lived in me. Your laugh once lifted me. Your word was gift to me. To remember this brings a painful joy. 'Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing, to love what death has touched. As I say the name of your loved one, if you'd like to rise in their honor, please do. This week, the Beth Am community mourns the loss of our member, Frank Burns, father of Jeremy Burns, father-in-law of Liat Bernoff, grandfather of Mia and Samuel, brother-in-law of Michelle and Mark Miller. We're observing Shloshim, the first 30 days of mourning, for Terry Rosentreater, Eleanor Yawitz, Barry Stock, Richard Boyd, Ruth Zuckerwise, Howard Sanders, Linda Foldetta, and Harold Glick. And we remember those whose Yahrzeit, whose anniversary of death fell this week. Maynard Anderson, Robert Becker, Mike Beckett, Joseph Blum, Carol Bukrinsky, Lillian Chaikin, Lloyd Charton, Hannah Cohan, Helen Dixon, Boris Dretzer, Ernie Fanwick, Jennifer Kate Friedman, Sue Galloway, Anna Gerson, Louise Ginsburg, Harvey Glass, Minnie Gottesman, Morris Greenberg, Beatrice Greenberg, Sylvia Greenberg, Sybil Greenfield, Theodore Greenwald, Roy Hardacre, Sarah Friedman Harris, Born Hay, Marguerite Lucille Hines, Eric Hirsch, Morris Hoffman, Garnett Holmes, Hyman Holtzman, Leon Horowitz, Harold Jones, Ralph Kahn, Jack Casper, Sun Yim Kim, Rosa Kohan Reznikova, Phyllis Kosakoff, Patrick Larkin, Jane Lesser, Saul Levin, Mitchell O. Locks, Gail Lowenthal, Peter Lucy, David Lurie, Jeanette Manison, Yefim Marcos, Juanita McCarble, Lauren Minkoff, Lavon Morton, Chaya Sara Munvez, Samuel Nowak, Maxine Oshry, Miriam Polish, Julia Remsen, Edna Remsen, Edith Rubison, Bert Ruby, Mary Rucker, Thomas Salter, Betty Schloss, Charles Schwartz, Henry Seaman, Eva Siegel, Mary Settle, Stephen Soffer, Robert Spunt, Albert Steiner, Benjamin Strasberg, Arlene Swartz, Sheldon Taylor, Evelyn Kirstner Turkis, Paula Wachschlag, Seymour Weiner, Libby Weiner, Manfred Wildman, William Wood, Fionela Zadenberg, and Abram Zadenberg. If there's someone else that you're missing, please say their names aloud. We'll all join together on page 598 for the words of Mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. Be'alma divra chirutei v'amlich malchutei. B'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uvizman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarach leolam olalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudsha berichu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechamata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. This month we are supporting the Israel Affordable Housing Center, which works to develop new tools and advance policies that make it possible for medium and low-income households to secure adequate and affordable housing in thriving communities throughout Israel. You can read more about it on our website, and we hope you will give generously, either through clicking the button on our website or sending a check to the office. I'd also like to invite you to the foyer right after our service, where you will be greeted by those friendly faces, or at least some of them. And Rabbi John will also be there to entertain and amuse and teach and schmooze and do all those things that Rabbi John is so good at. So we hope you'll join us. And we will conclude our service with a prayer for peace. Od yavo shalom aleinu.
Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam.
forgot to say that it is wonderful to have Ken and Beiri back together with us. They used to be called the Shabbat in the Round Ensemble along with our cantor, and I do think that if we drew a circle through all of the different rooms that we're in, we could make it work. So we are back in our Shabbat in the Round, and we're delighted to have you with us. Let's say Motzi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.